I never imagined that retiring to a quiet, upscale neighborhood would land me in the crosshairs of a federal security crisis. All because my HOA president, Linda, couldn't resist meddling with my high-tech home. It began innocently enough. Her tiny Pomeranian, Biscuit, yapped in her arms like he held a VIP pass. She marched up to my front yard, clutching her clipboard, complaining that my address plaque was too shiny. But by the end, she would trigger a classified military alert, convince the Pentagon I was under cyber attack, and become a viral national punchline. This is the story of how one woman's obsession turned a suburban spat into a spectacle that reached Capitol Hill, and how I, Ethan Caldwell, a retired AI defense engineer, watched it all unfold with a mix of dread and dark amusement. After 30 years designing cutting-edge AI systems for national defense, I bought a sleek, modern home in Willow Creek. The goal was simple: fade into obscurity, or so I thought. Unbeknownst to the neighborhood, the Pentagon had one last request. They asked me to field test a prototype, a next-gen smart home defense system, biometric security, encrypted comms, and a direct link to the national defense grid. My job was to live quietly, log activity, and make sure no unauthorized entry occurred. The system, a fortress, facial recognition gates, glowing address signs, and a sleek biometric panel outside. Warning: defense monitoring active, unauthorized access triggers federal alert. Then, Linda Hayes stormed in. She wasn't even on the HOA board when I moved in, but 6 months later she declared herself president, unopposed, and unleashed what neighbors came to call her perfect lawn crusade. She fined a guy for growing sunflowers taller than 6 feet, sent cease and desist letters over mailbox stickers. But her obsession? My setup. "That glowing sign is un-American," she'd yell across the street. "That gate scanner. You think you're in a spy movie? This isn't Area 51, Ethan. You're not Iron Man." I ignored her, not because I didn't care, but because I knew logic didn't work with people like Linda. You wait. You let consequences speak. They didn't take long. One Saturday, she approached my gate wearing a visor and a tank top that read, "HOA excels harmony," dragging poor Biscuit behind her. "You can't post fake government warnings. That's a violation of Regulation 3.2.1, subsection C," she barked. I didn't even look up from my tablet. "It's not fake, Linda," she scoffed. "Sure, and I'm the first lady." That night, while brushing my teeth, I got the alert. Unauthorized fingerprint rejection. Security footage showed Linda tapping on the biometric panel with her fingernail, then slamming it with her clipboard. Biscuit barked like a malfunctioning siren as she ranted about citizen inspections. I logged the breach. A warning, I thought. That should be enough. But Linda didn't stop. Hours later, I woke up to a pulsing red light on my ceiling and a quiet voice whispering, "Zone breach, tampering detected." There she was again, in garden gloves, holding a flashlight, poking at the panel like it owed her money. She held the override button too long. That was a mistake. She triggered a level 3 alert, which in Pentagon terms meant my house was flagged for hostile surveillance. Somewhere deep in Colorado, someone was staring at my house, on a military grid. By morning, my neighbor Sarah whispered, "Ethan, why were there 3 black SUVs parked outside your house last night?" I shrugged. Realtors, maybe." But Linda, oblivious, she strutted the neighborhood like a sheriff on patrol, boasting that she'd reported me to city enforcement. What she didn't know: the feds weren't watching me anymore. They were watching her. The next message came from my old contact, Major Reynolds. "Confirmed civilian status of breach party?" I replied. "Just an annoying HOA president named Linda." His response was short. "Copy. Keep the system armed. We're watching." Then came Tuesday, 4:44 p.m. Linda strutted back, now dressed in what I can only describe as a home inspector cosplay, reflective safety vest, sunglasses, a utility belt, and a voltage tester swinging like a lightsaber. "Time to clean this up," she announced to no one. She approached the panel, scanned it with her gadget. That was enough. The system flagged her scan as unauthorized. Phase 2 activated. A Department of Defense drone was rerouted for aerial validation. ETA, 29 minutes. Linda had no idea that she had just become a national defense incident. I watched from my living room, popcorn in hand, while she screamed at the gate. Biscuit barked like a siren. Linda, still convinced she was the hero in a patriotic sitcom. What she didn't know was that the next 24 hours were being broadcast to a federal operations center. Her face had been uploaded into not one, not two, but 3 national threat databases. Not because she was a terrorist, but because the system couldn't distinguish sabotage from stupidity. The tension in the neighborhood became a fog. No sirens, no black helicopters, just silence, a deceptive calm, like the eye of a storm. Sarah showed up again, latte in hand. "Did you hear? Linda's organizing a community compliance walk." I raised an eyebrow. "She's what?" "A door-to-door check for violations." She's rattled, trying to reassert control. At exactly 2:17 p.m. the next day, Linda struck again, this time in full tactical gear. A vest that read, HOA Field OPS, a GoPro strapped to her head, Biscuit panting behind her. She waved her voltage tester like a wand, then pulled out bolt cutters. This wasn't a prank anymore. This was an active breach. I activated lockdown protocol, set the system to passive observation. The moment she clamped those cutters on the panel, the system emitted a low-frequency hum. The red light blinked, then went dead. Tampering confirmed. General Harper called me on a secure channel. "We can't write this off as coincidence. 3 breaches mean we initiate a contact trace. A recon team arrives by morning. Let her keep talking, but keep her off the grid." The words chilled me. If she gets close again, the system may respond on its own. The system wasn't designed to attack, but it was adaptive and defensive. If it labeled her as a continuing threat, she could be met with deterrence, like the biometric foam cannon. I wasn't eager to see that. The next morning, 3 unmarked SUVs parked nearby. Federal agents in plain clothes posing as surveyors knocked on doors. Linda peeked through her curtains, filming them. She was convinced I was running a secret lab. She claimed my green lawn was powered by government-grade energy weapons. Later that night, just past midnight, my infrared cameras picked up movement. Linda again, this time with a laser pointer and magnifying glass, crawling along the property line. She was scanning for surveillance reflections. She didn't realize she was being watched by my home system, a DoD drone federal agents, and her own GoPro, now uploaded as Exhibit 7 in a federal case file. At 3 a.m., she breached the fence, tried lifting the panel. The system locked magnetically. It deployed a high-frequency deterrent pulse. Linda stumbled. Biscuit's leash tangled around her. She fell headfirst into her own shrubs. I sent the footage to the feds. By morning, federal agents knocked on her door. She answered while still in full HOA regalia and tried to fine them for parking violations. One agent flashed a federal badge. Silence. They handed her a formal warning. Any further tampering would be treated as interference with protected infrastructure. She stammered about being a patriotic watchdog. They didn't care, but Linda didn't back down. Instead, she declared an emergency HOA meeting. Only 4 people showed up. 2 of them thought it was bingo night. She stood in the clubhouse surrounded by American flags and fake plant pots, preaching about deep state surveillance in our yards. She had no idea. The Pentagon was already drafting an internal case study on how quickly a civilian can escalate a military-grade system without provocation. Linda didn't just get federal attention. She triggered a security review that reached Capitol Hill. Linda was riding the chaos like it was her big break. Every morning she walked around the block with a body cam, narrating my sprinkler system's behavior like she was embedded in a war zone. "Notice the coded water bursts. That's how they communicate." But Saturday morning, she went too far. At 9 a.m., an alert pinged. Perimeter breach. Security cams caught her climbing a neighbor's trash bin, hopping my wall, and entering my side yard. helmet on, radio scanner in hand. She whispered into it like she was coordinating with a secret citizen task force, alone, in her fantasy. Then, the system locked her inside my smart garage, a sealed thermal data unit, airtight and completely isolated. Her GoPro kept streaming. I'm imprisoned in a bunker. They've sealed me in. I knew it. This is a biodense laser operation. Open sesame. She slapped the walls, panicked, ranted. The feds retrieved her within minutes. But the video? It went viral. By afternoon, Garage Linda was trending. Talk shows played her footage. YouTubers reacted. A late-night host parodied her panic with a haunted microwave. And still, Linda leaned in. She called another HOA meeting to denounce foreign surveillance in her neighborhood. She stood, arms raised, flanked by tiny American flags and potted ferns, claiming she'd exposed a government cover-up. But the crowd? 4 people. Again. Even they looked embarrassed. Behind the scenes, the Pentagon convened a classified committee. Linda had proven a key vulnerability: civilian escalation without provocation. So now, she became a case study. News vans camped on her lawn. At first, she posed for selfies. But once reporters started asking for evidence, she pointed to my sprinklers, muttered about frequency pulses, held up drawings of Biscuit in a hazmat suit. Then came the congressional summons. Yes, Congress. In a baggy suit, Linda rambled about laser networks and bunker walls. A representative asked, "Were aliens involved?" She answered, "Not directly." The room went silent. Someone stifled a laugh. After that, she was done. The HOA board voted her out. A restraining order barred her from my property. Don't be a Linda became the neighborhood mantra. But Linda wasn't finished. From her porch, she stared at my house for hours, plotting, whispering, watching. She filed county complaints, calling my home a public safety risk. The inspector came. I showed my federal permits. Then, a twist. An envelope arrived. Inside, a gold-trimmed Tier 1 National Defense Infrastructure designation plaque. My property was now federally protected. A sign was mounted beside my gate. Linda saw it, froze, clutched Biscuit like a war widow clutching folded flags. Her lights turned off early that night. But I knew she wasn't done. A week later, a QR code appeared on my new federal sign. It linked to her blog, Eyes on the Truth. The first post claimed my mailbox gave Biscuit neurological tremors. It went viral. Again. But I didn't respond. Then came the storm. Linda crept along my fence in the rain, armed with kitchen tools. She dug with a spatula, talked into a walkie-talkie. Blackout plan in motion, ready alpha, engage. When she struck the biometric panel with a crowbar, the system delivered a mild shock. She flew back. I logged it as sabotage. That was the last straw. The feds intervened, this time for a mental health evaluation. She screamed about foreign agents and HOA body doubles. But the neighborhood had moved on. A month later, her blog vanished. The HOA reorganized. She moved out. One day, a small envelope showed up in my mailbox. Inside, a handwritten note. I thought I was the hero. I'm sorry. Signed, L. I didn't keep it for forgiveness. I kept it as a reminder that even the wildest stories need an end. The Pentagon later declassified parts of the Smart Home Project. I stayed on as a consultant. Linda didn't just lose to me. She lost to the truth. Moral of the story: ignorance fueled by ego becomes dangerous when it refuses to listen. Not everything strange is a conspiracy, and not every warning is a bluff. Sometimes the best way to protect yourself is to stay quiet, stay smart, and let reality handle the drama.